Legally in Love, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 15b. She started to move. Her eyes fluttered open as she stretched awake. She looked at him and smiled, that beautiful, real smile. "Hey, babe," she breathed. "Hey, baby," he returned. "You ready to go home?" Her eyes shot open. "What time is it?" "Time to go home and be with Luke. Would you like me to carry you?" He hoped the answer was yes. He hadn't been able to hold her since that morning. No, of course not. She protested at first. She stopped as she gazed into his eyes. He wondered what she saw there. On second thought, she countered, then reached out her arms. He took one hand, raised it around his shoulder, and gathered her into his arms. He wished they had time to have a session in the car, but he'd promised Kim. She leaned on his shoulder all the ride home. He was touching her, but for some reason she felt miles away. Physically, she wasn't running from him, but she still was emotionally, and he didn't like it. He needed to find a way to pull her back again. No matter how much she retreated, he would find her and bring her back home to him. Her breathing became deep and even, her head heavy on his shoulder. She had fallen back asleep. Whatever she was working on was exhausting her, and she was trying to do it on her own. He pulled into the garage and gently brushed the side of her face with his thumb. Her eyes fluttered open again. "Baby, I need to go in and take care of Luke. Would you like me to take you upstairs to bed?" Once he had a chance, he would find out what was keeping her from him and bring her back. For now, he had other responsibilities. She smiled back at him. "I'll help. I'm okay." That smile again, not her smile, the smiling mask she hid behind. She pulled away and climbed out of the truck. He stifled a growl, followed her into the house, and watched her with his son. Luke must have sensed her being upset. He usually would excitedly jump into her arms. Tonight, he walked up to her, raised his arms, and snuggled into her. One arm went around her back and actually started patting her there. Kim looked concerned, but went to her apartment once they got home. Emma went through the motions of their night. It was strange to watch. She was kind and loving as always, being there for those she loved, but it was like she was numb. It felt like watching a ghost try to act human. She was still giving to others when there was something she needed, and he needed to figure out what that was. Luke clung to her after the book, something he hadn't done before. He wished she could see there were people that loved her back, would do anything to help her too. He was proud of his little man, gave him a kiss on the head before stepping away from his crib. Outside his room, Emma swooped in and kissed him, legs around his waist, giving him what she thought he needed. He kissed her back gently, refusing the insistence she was trying to pull from him. He rubbed her back soothingly, didn't rock against her, just held her and urged her back to him. She reached around and pulled at his shirt. He caught her arms and pulled them away from him, hooked both in one hand and held them tight against the wall. His other hand went back to stroking her back soothingly, still kissing her gently. He knew if she really wanted him right now, she would get frustrated. If she was just giving him what she thought he wanted or needed, she would eventually look at him confused. That would be his moment. Right on cue, her kiss lessened, she backed away and looked at him confused. His heart broke at that moment for her. She looked so vulnerable and lost. "I miss you, and I think you know what I mean." He kept his voice soft. "John," she whispered. It sounded like a plea. Tears pooled. He started to fill her with them again. "I'm here, Emma. I want to help you, like you helped me, but I need you here. I need you to talk to me, to trust me, to let me in." "I'm not worth it, John. I've caused so much pain to my family. It was my fault I was taken. Then I started to get sick, but apparently that was all in my head. I try to help, but I keep hurting everyone. I've seen who you've dated. I'm nothing like them. I was trying so hard so you wouldn't regret Christian arranging our marriage. I know how devoted you are to my brother and would honor his wishes, but I'm a mess, John. You don't deserve this." The information came in a rush. She shook as more tears pooled and spilled. John recognized this from his time living with Christian and Andi. Audie would start downloading all her fears. He knew to give them room so Christian could help her. Now he wished he had stayed for a few to have any idea what to do now. He just remembered what Christian had told him. Stay calm, don't demand, keep talking, keep gently asking questions. He felt unworthy of this woman and was stunned she felt the same. Emma, it was only a whisper. No, John, you don't have to say anything. I'm glad I'm getting better. It's not that I'm not happy I'm getting better. I'm just so angry I did this. Emma, you didn't do this, he finally interrupted. I saw you at the hospital in a coma. This isn't in your head. Whatever is happening right now with your health, I'm extremely grateful for, but none of this is in your head. You're not crazy. He remembered some of her words from earlier. You're just not facing it alone anymore. Let us in. Me, Christian, Auntie, everyone who loves you. Let us in so we can help you. No, 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 she repeated over and over, shaking her head. I'm not hurting you again. I'm not hurting any of you again, she vowed, pulling away and started to walk. He made sure she walked into the room and closed the door. She started pacing, could see she was shaking. Christian had once told him that Ani started acting like a caged animal when they were getting to a truth that she was hiding, one that was hurting her. He forced himself to stay calm. He kept his hysteria at bay, kept his breathing and heart rate slow. What do you mean again, Emma? The question was gently asked. Her eyes shot to his. They looked wild, almost feral. Her mouth moved several times, but no words. He slowly approached her. She backed away, and he cursed himself. He hated when she did that, but he stayed calm. What do you mean again, Emma? You already have enough. I don't want to be another burden. I'll figure this out. You don't have to do anything, she countered. The desperation in her voice told him this was very important to her. He followed her, carefully maneuvering her into the corner of the room. You're not a burden. You're my wife. Remember, your happiness is my happiness. The same for your pain, and I can't help if I don't know what it is. His voice stayed calm, soothing. She closed her eyes as she shrank into the wall. No, I only want to help, not hurt everyone I love. I'm just a burden. If I disappear, no one will be hurt. I don't want them to be hurt. That makes sense. That's what I know. I can't do this, John. I can't do. Emma, stop, he ordered. His arms moved quickly, anchoring against the wall on either side of her, cornering her in place. Forget about not wanting to hurt anyone you love. Forget about what anyone else would want. What do you want, Emma? Forget about us. What is it that you want? He saw it, the moment her eyes switched from wild and feral to vulnerable and broken. I don't want to be sick anymore. It came out softer but more desperate than her other words. They were close. He really needed to not mess this up. Why? He asked softly. He felt her completely for the first time since her doctor appointment. The emotion swept over him. It was utter sorrow from her. He felt it before he saw it in her face. I don't want to be alone anymore. I'm so scared. Her walls shattered. She sobbed, and he pulled her close. She struggled against him for a moment, then surrendered and clung to him as her legs gave out. He carried her to their bed as she wept and laid with her, pulling a blanket over them. He took deep, calming breaths now that he felt like he could breathe again. It hurt him that she was crying, but not nearly as much as her shutting him out. You're not alone anymore, Emma, and never will be from now on. We, all of us, are never letting that happen again. This brought another flood of tears. He just held her so she would know his words were true. He would never let her be alone again. John gently asked, Christian told me you loved having family and friends around you when you were young. Why did you start pushing everyone away? Her crying slowed. He sensed she was drifting into memories. Christian had started high school. He and Dad were focused on his future, setting and monitoring goals. Family gatherings were canceled and not planned at all. Mom was always focused on Dad or work. Her words were soft, no emotion. He could feel they were building to something. He quietly listened. I was a part of an international student chat group. All of them were supposed to be my age. I enjoyed talking with kids from other countries, seeing how we were all similar, what were uniquely their experiences. It gave my mind a distraction from how quiet the house was all the time. Looking back, I didn't realize how neglected I'd been feeling. I just thought I understood that everyone around me had priorities that didn't include me. John took a slow, deep breath, careful not to tense around her. Her story helped him see her past. Then Rick. Her words hardened. John couldn't stop his arm from reflexively flinching around her at the sound of his name. He was supposed to be 15. Now I recognize he was giving me the attention I didn't know I wanted. Sorry, I can't even talk about those conversations without wanting to destroy myself for being so stupid. He felt her shiver, her head lowered to completely hide her face. He didn't react, but he also didn't move his arms from around her. My parents went with Christian to one of his school events, gone for 3 days, and Rick had me convinced a trip to his family farm in Iowa would go completely unnoticed. I told my parents I would stay at a friend's house and arranged to meet Rick for the trip. Nothing was the same after. I started getting sick. I was pulled from school. Christian and my parents were concerned all the time. I felt disgusted with myself for bringing this to my family by being so selfish and wanting someone to notice me. I didn't deserve to be noticed ever again. That's how I oriented my life. She took a shuddering breath. I now realize how much I've hated it and how scared I've been this whole time. But this, being with you, so many friends and family back in my life, being seen, I didn't realize I've been terrified that something just as bad or worse would happen if I let myself want this. There, that was it. Why she'd been hiding, why she'd been running. John started to understand. I can see that. Emma took a shaky breath. I just don't want to mess this up, you know? I feel like I have so much more to lose if I mess things up now. John took another deep breath, prayed he didn't mess up the trust she just placed in him. I've messed up a lot of relationships too. I don't want to screw this up either, but I'm not sure if I know what I'm doing. Her face rose. Her eyes finally looked at him. They were still lost as they searched his. How do we do this, John? His arms loosened around her, his hand stroking her back. Do you have my back? With everything, even my own fears? It was a question he didn't know he had the courage to ask. Her eyes kept searching his for a moment. Then she slowly nodded. He couldn't stop his slight smile. I have your back too, with everything, including all your fears. That is our priority, and we both orient our world around that. Everything else we figure out with that being our main goal. He'd never before been able to put into words what he'd always wanted in a partner. Hadn't even known this was possible until he'd gotten to know the woman that was his wife. The sorrow and confusion lifted from Emma's eyes. Her warm smile raised her incredible lips. She wasn't lost anymore. She had a direction. They had a goal. He could see it in her eyes. Then, miracle of miracles, she nodded. Finally at peace, she rested her head against his chest. Time passed. She quieted in his arms, but her breathing told him she wasn't asleep. Her hand started tracing his chest. Her mouth came to his neck. He breathed her in, her scent, her warmth. This was really her, and he knew it. He closed his eyes, enjoying the feel of her lips there. He moved his arms to pull her on him, but she moved the moment he did. It was so fast he didn't have time to react. She was on his chest, her knees pinning his arms to his side. Her eyes were dark, piercing into him. She was his again, and her intensity told him she was the one that needed control this time. He knew he could easily lift his arms since she was so light, but he relaxed and let her do whatever she needed. She started at his shirt, unbuttoned as far as she could, then looked at him. He smiled and winked at her. She didn't smile back, and he got the message. Her knees moved off his arms, but he didn't move them. The last button was released. She ran her hands up the opening from the base of his pants to the top of his chest, then across his shoulders, opening his shirt and exposing his chest. He'd learned that her hands were magic from the massage she'd given him, and they were no less magic tonight. Just her touch calmed and excited him at the same time. Her head dipped. Her lips were on his shoulder, moved to his collarbone, down the center of his chest. She started rocking against him through their clothes. Edited for content. His arms flinched to wrap around her. Her hands caught his arms and pushed them back down to the bed. She nipped him almost painfully. Edited. Her eyes raised. He saw this was not his sweet, kind wife. She was sharing her dark side with him. Slight apprehension gripped him. She lowered her head and continued to please him. He smiled and laid his head back. He had told her he wanted all of her. Now he got to see the side of her he'd only seen glimpses of before. This Emma was just as talented, but edged more on pain-pleasure. She moved, still rocking against him. The sensations were electrifying, but he was getting nearly painfully sensitive. She took her time. He gritted his teeth. She finally started, edited. His relief was short-lived, edited. The denial had him gritting his teeth, his hands flinching. She held him there until the urge passed, edited for content. He convulsed, his whole body exploded, but still no release. How much more would she put him through? He vowed he'd return the favor. Her mouth soothed him. He braced himself for what she planned for him next. She raised up, took off her clothes slowly while watching him. His hands flexed, wanting to take her, to help her, rip everything off her, but he kept his arms at his side. Edited for content. Her chin rested on her hands as she looked up at him. Her eyes softened. The darkness eased. She didn't move. Neither did he. Her eyes started to sparkle with gathering moisture. "And I want you," she said softly. He wasn't sure what he heard. "What, baby?" he asked gently. "You asked me what I wanted before. Take everyone out and only think of myself. I want you. I've always wanted you. I was just afraid of causing you pain or adding to your burdens. I'm sorry, I never wanted to tell you." "I'm glad you did." He disobeyed her order, moved his arms, and started stroking the side of her face. "I want you too. But all those girls you dated, I'm nothing like them." Her eyes were searching his for some believable reason that he was with her. He took a deep breath. How could he explain? "I never felt good enough for you. I couldn't even bear to date anyone like you, so I went the opposite." Her eyes still searched his for a moment. Gradually, she smiled and his chest tingled. "I am happy the doctor said I'm getting better, but what if it's just temporary?" That thought tightened his throat. "Whatever happens, I wouldn't trade a single moment with you, no matter how painful that moment would be." Now his eyes started to sting and pool with tears. Her hand cupped his hand at the side of her face, and she pressed. A tear slid from her eye and streamed down her face. "I will fight that with everything I can, fight for you with everything I can." It was a whisper, but he felt it thunder through his body. His other hand came to the other side of her face, held it there to make sure she wouldn't turn away. "So will I, with everything I can," he vowed. He took her mouth, tasted both their tears. Edited for content. He gasped in her mouth. She eased her mouth from his. "I know I wanted to be the one in control, but would you take me now, please?" Now, this was a request he could easily fulfill. He wrapped his arm around her waist and flipped them over. Edited for content. His whole world spun, everything disappeared except the two of them. He collapsed, barely able to move enough to avoid landing on her. He fought the dark, needed to know she was okay. His arms refused his need to search for her, to make sure she was okay. He felt her move. She curled into his chest. She had come to him. She still trusted him. He hadn't messed this up. The relief rushed over his body and mind a moment before everything went black.